Photoshop is a program for editing images. But can I make the game Hollow Knight here? I need to create a player, enemies, and even a boss fight in the next 3 days. And if I don't do it, I delete the entire game. The timer is started. The first goal is to turn this pixel art into a playable player. But we can't write code in Photoshop, so how the f are we gonna do that? Turns out you can load JS scripts into Photoshop. For example, this script that I created moves the player to the left, and these move it to the right or make it jump. Loading them every time like this was really annoying, so I bounced scripts to keys and with AutoHotkey remapped them to W, A, and D, just like in games. But even though we have movement, how is the player supposed to fall? I actually have a script for falling. The catch is it needs to run automatically 24/7, and Photoshop just doesn't have that feature, so it feels like there is no way out. Or is there? Remember AutoHotkey? Turns out it can also press the key non-stop, so if we take our falling script, bind it to F5 and keep pressing the key using AutoHotkey, the player will fall. If you think this looks terrible, you're absolutely right though. But then I ran into a serious problem. The game is already lagging, and we've only built like 1% of it. Later we still have to add moving enemies, and even a full boss fight inside poor Photoshop. It might get so laggy that the game won't even start. But let's leave those problems for later. For now, I need to build the map with the rest of my time on day 1, so I have enough time on days 2 and 3 for everything else. Well, I'm an idiot. It's already day 2, and the map isn't even done, so I have to finish it today. By the way, I'm using pixel art instead of drawing high resolution, because otherwise Photoshop would just explode. I tried to recreate the first area from Hollow Knight, and here's what I got. This is where the game starts. At the very end, there will be a boss area, and somewhere in between, enemies, which I'm going to make right now. Drawing the map took way too long, so it's almost 4 PM and I really need to speed up. The first enemy is TikTik. Don't confuse it with TikTok. It's an enemy who walks to the left, then to the right, pretty much all it does. I drew it and edited the script. It runs non-stop using AutoHotkey, and TikTik moves right 7 times, then turns left and repeats. I also placed a second TikTik on a platform, but this one rotates around it. And finally, the last enemy I want to add is this big guy, whose name I don't remember. I know he's not from the first Hollow Knight, but he fits here perfectly, and I'm out of time. Now the lag has gotten way worse. If all 3 enemies move at the same time, the game just stops. Hopefully I can fix it later, or the game is done for. For now, I'm only letting 1 enemy move at a time. And just like that, day 2 was over. Since I'm busy tomorrow, I moved the final day to the day after. Now I've got 14 hours left to add a boss fight, fix the lag, and add the combat system. Yeah, that sucks. Let's start with the player's HP. Do you remember those hearts in Hollow Knight? They're always in the corner, but in my case I can just pin the hearts layer to the corner. But there is a workaround. You can open the same document in the second window, resize it, and place the hearts there. I already wrote the code for this, so every time you run into an enemy, you lose 1 heart, and the player gets teleported to a safe spot. And you also lose heart if you fall on spikes. When you lose all 3, you just get a black screen. Yeah, maybe I'll come up with something more interesting. Spoiler, I didn't. Next up, the player's attack. I started by drawing an attack animation. I put the player's idle and attack states in the same folder. Now when I press the attack button, the idle layer hides and the attack layer shows up. Then it checks if any enemies are touching that layer, and if they are, they lose 1 HP. Each enemy has its own HP. TikTik have 2, and this guy has 4. And once they lose all their HP, their layers get hidden, and that's how they die. I gotta fix the lag before making the boss, and honestly, I'm scared I won't make it in time. The first idea to reduce lag is to close all Photoshop windows since they use some resources. Not that I expected too much. Second idea, make the scripts run less often. Yeah, the falling animation sucks even more than before, and enemies move slower, but there is a less lag now. However, the boss is gonna be heavy on performance, so the lag might come back. We need a third solution. Apparently, I can just turn the enemies on and off right in the game, and I can do it with these red areas. If the player steps into the first one, it activates the first enemy. Stepping on the next area activates the second enemy and stops the first one. This way only 1 enemy moves at a time, which really takes the load off Photoshop. 6 hours left to make a boss. How am I gonna do that? No idea. Let's start with the pixel art. I picked probably the first boss you meet in Hollow Knight, the False Knight. This is the boss in his idle state, and I also made an attack version. Now with these 2 images, I made 3 of his attacks. The first one is a simple hit, the second is a jump, The script needs to run 5 times to create the jump animation. And the last one is a combo. A jump with a hit at the end, just like in the game. I also added direction switching for the boss. When he finishes an attack, he scans the area and finds the player. If the player is behind him, it adds left to his layer name. So now he starts moving left. I had an issue where the boss could leave the room, so I added invisible boundaries. When he crosses them, he steps back, so he can't leave the room. To beat the boss, you need to hit him 12 times, but it's not that easy, mostly because the game is lagging. I spent the last hour fixing some important bugs, and now let's see if the game even works. Alright, so I spawn here and go down. I'll speed up some parts or everybody will die of boredom. We reach the first enemy. I hit him once, then one more hit, and he dies. That's the first problem. Sometimes the attack animation just doesn't show up. Now I need to drop onto this platform and make the jump into the tunnel. I died here so many times. Come on, come on. Yes! We take this guy out really quick and move on to the boss. To be honest, I had to manually stop every enemy I passed, even though they should have stopped on their own. And now if I get close, yeah, the fight begins. Standing in front of him is dangerous, so I've got a plan. Every time he jumps, I need to get behind him and hit his back. Oh no, this is my last chance. I have to do this. Yes! I did it! So, can you make a game in Photoshop? Yeah, but please don't. It's a bad idea.